Good afternoon. My name is Jay Smith. I am a Mohawk Turtle Clan. My Mohawk name is Oweitarungwas. It means he picks or chooses his path or direction. I'm the father of 5 boys and 2 girls. I have been involved with lacrosse as a player from the time I was 9 years old. And when my playing career was over, which wasn't very lucrative, but I did manage to win a provincial championship as a player. As a coach, this has been my 20th year, and I've coached from paperweight to senior, senior B being the last team that I was involved with. Although the pandemic put the brakes on some things, I was still involved at a senior B level. This year, I was the general manager of the Six Nations Rebels, who have a storied history, as well as the director of operations for the Clearview Crushers of the Senior B Loop in Ontario. Today, what I'd like to do is discuss the first game of lacrosse. To us, it is a tradition passed down. We play for the Creator. The first game in our oral tradition was played by the four-legged and the winged creatures. Many times the same story is passed down, and it's different every time it is told because it's the interpretation of the person telling it. There's a lot of meanings behind it. Hopefully I'll have time to go into a little bit of what the meaning of it is for me. And hopefully I'll be able to pass on some of this knowledge, and it'll be absorbed and taken to apply in your life wherever it's needed. Long ago, a lacrosse game was set to be played by the four-leggeds and winged animals or birds. Captains for the animals were the bear, noted for overpowering all opposition due to his size and strength. The deer, known for speed and agility in the field, and the turtle, who could withstand harsh blows but continued to move forward. The wing captains were the owl, who was wise and whose keen sight allowed him to keep his eye on the ball. The hawk and the eagle each excelled in rapid movements and eyesight. As the birds were preparing for the game, they noticed 2 little creatures climbing a tree. They were the squirrel and the mouse. They had asked if they could join the winged creatures in the game because the four-leggeds had laughed at them because they were too small and they felt were unable to contribute to the team. Now, having said that, the squirrel and the mouse were told that they couldn't play for the winged creatures because they didn't have wings. But after some consultation between the eagle and the hawk and the owl, it was noted that the squirrel had excess skin and could be stretched, and they stretched the squirrel's skin between his back legs and forelegs and created what is now flying squirrel. For the mouse, he didn't have excess skin, so what they did is they took a piece of leather from a hand drum and they attached it to his back and front legs, and he became what is now known as the bat. So as they set the game up to play, there was a face-off, which was highly contested, I guess you could say. The ball managed to go up in the air. The birds caught it, and with their ability to fly so high up in the air, they took the ball out of the reach of the four-leggeds. And as they were taking it to the net to try to score, the eagle was hollering for a pass because the hawk is the one who had the ball. And when he tried to pass it, he dropped the ball. So having dropped the ball, the rabbit caught the ball, and the rabbit, with his excessive speed, went to the net, anticipating he was going to score because he was so fast, not realizing that the eagle and the hawk were zeroing in on him, and they caught him and picked him up, and they dropped the rabbit, who lost control of the ball. Having lost control of the ball, the falcon swooped down and picked it up, and with his great speed, he was flying towards the net. The bear, who decided to take up being the goaltender, stood there, and the falcon ran into him, losing control of the ball. The deer picked the ball up, and with his great agility, was able to weave in and out of all the birds who were trying to play defense because he was a lot bigger than them, and he managed to score a goal. So with the four-leggeds up 1-0, there was a little bit of discouragement in the birds' camp. The owl, who devised a plan to try to trick these guys, gave the ball to the flying squirrel, who did have the ability to run. And the squirrel ran across the ground with the ball, being chased by the rabbit. And as the rabbit attempted to catch the squirrel, the flying squirrel ran up a tree and took off and flew with his newfound wings, carrying the ball to the net. And as he was flying through the air, he noticed that the eagle was streaking towards the net, so he passed the ball to the eagle. And the eagle, with his great wingspan, was able to maneuver past the bear and scored a goal, tying it at 1 each. Now, this game went back and forth for many hours. They seesawed back and forth, scoring goals, celebrating. And as it was getting darker, they noticed that some of the animals couldn't see. So as they took a break and pondered on what to do as it was getting towards dusk, they were about to call the game, but because neither side wanted to accept that it was a draw, they continued to play. And the bat, realizing that he was able to see at night, because as a mouse, he never had that ability to see at night as good as a bat does. So the bat picked the ball up, and because he was able to zigzag and fly and circle at such a great rate of speed and with such great agility, he managed to score what was the game-winning goal. Now, having said that, there was great celebration. The winged ones rejoiced, and the four-leggeds seemed to be upset. They were angry that they lost. But having also realized they play for the Creator, and knowing that there has to be a winner and a loser in each game that is played, everyone realized that it doesn't matter whether you win or lose. Sometimes people often ask, why do you even keep score? But in that first game, it was for entertainment. They didn't realize that they showed off all their abilities and their skills. They didn't realize that each animal on the planet is here for a purpose. What they discovered was, it doesn't matter how big you are, it doesn't matter how fast you are, it doesn't matter how slow you are, everything has a purpose. So with that squirrel and that mouse being rejected by the four-leggeds and becoming part of the winged creatures team and eventually contributing to winning the game, what they realized is even the smallest has a purpose, and not to be so judgmental. Now, in today's game, it is played at such a high elite level. Oftentimes, coaches are picked not only for their ability to pick winning teams or to get the best out of people, they're also known to have only the best people or players on their team. And in that process, a lot of times egos get built, egos get inflated, they get stroked, and people lose track of what they play the game for. I myself have been accused of doing this. One of my mottos as a coach is, I will take anybody that tries and shows they want to learn over a player who thinks that he already knows. A lot of times it's said that teams are already picked before they go on the floor. Now, thinking about that game between the four-legged and the winged creatures, I try personally to give everybody a fair shot. Sometimes you have to realize that you may be friends or family with the coach or the player, but to put the best team on the floor, sometimes you have to adjust and maybe cut a family member or cut one of your friends or one of your friends' children. At the end of the day, everybody's still given a chance. And it's usually a chance to play with your friends and realizing that you have to put the effort in. A lot of times that's lost. Inclusion is lost a lot of times, but inclusion also means putting in the work. A lot of times people get accused of being lazy, but they still have attributes. They still have a different look on things. Sometimes the best players don't make the best coaches, but sometimes the best coaches were not the best players. So their attribute is their mind, their vision, their outlook on things. I myself was never the best player. I don't think I'm the best coach, but I am very humbled when I do get asked to coach teams, when I get asked to help players, when I get asked to consult, when I get asked to give my opinion. Even today, being asked to do this interview was very humbling. I had no real idea which way this was going to go, but here we are. Now, getting back to that game about the winged and the four-legged, the Creator gave everybody a gift, gave all those animals a gift. He didn't say, this is what you have to do. He put them on the planet to let them discover their own gifts. Sometimes we as people take a long time to realize what our gifts are. Sometimes we get dragged down by others who seem to cast judgment on us, who ridicule us, who laugh at us, who pick on us. A lot of times, going back to that little mouse, he had to change. But in changing, he realized how monumental his efforts were, even if to others they were minuscule efforts. That squirrel had to change, became a flying squirrel. And again, he too realized that size doesn't matter. It's your heart, it's your effort. Changed these responsibilities because he had changed his look. Sometimes we go through changes, sometimes they're uncomfortable. A lot of times they're uncomfortable. Sometimes it's necessary. We evolve every day. There's no sense really in dwelling in what yesterday did. Yesterday was heavy, put it down. Today's a new day. So when that squirrel and that mouse changed into a flying squirrel and a bat, they didn't leave their roots behind either. There's still mice and there's still regular squirrels. But what they did is show that evolution can work. Evolution can happen. So as people, maybe sometimes we have to become the bat or we have to become the flying squirrel. Now on the four-legged side, the bear, the turtle, the deer, all have great attributes already. You can see that just by looking at them. But out of that game, even though they lost, they did realize that they found that they had a heart. Because even in losing, they realized they play for the Creator. They realized that they had humility. They realized that they had honor because they were still able to play for the Creator. They were still thankful for their gifts. Now, having said that, the bear still is very powerful. The turtle still is very strong and slow, but he still moves forward. And the deer still is very quick and nimble. But they've evolved. Even with our clan system, the bear, turtle, and deer are very important. Now, having said that, they haven't changed much on the outside, but their hearts are humongous. Their humbleness is humongous. Their attitudes are different. They've evolved. I've said that many times because I think as people, that's what we need to do. You adapt, you evolve. Try not to take on the negativity. Like those animals in that game, there was a bit of negativity because there was a loss, there was arguing, there was squabbling. But at the end of the day, they realized they have gifts. They need to take advantage of them. They need to share them. They need to help others to learn to grow. Now, the eagle, the owl, and the hawk are still our leaders in the air. The falcon, he's still there. They still do what they've done for thousands of years, but they've adapted, they've adjusted, because they have to. Our world is adjusting, our world is adapting. We have to roll with it. For me, lacrosse has taught me many things. It's taught me all of that, to be humble, to adjust, to evolve, to adapt. So not only is it just a game, by today's standards, there's national championships, there's provincial championships, there's local championships. Here they're called zone championships. There's great joy in winning them, but there's also great joy if you lose and you're able to learn. I've been on the end of many losses. I've been on the end of many victories, but in each one, I try to learn. In each player that I've ever had the honor of coaching or guiding, as I say, I tell them, you're the vessel, I just get to steer. I've learned more from them than they ever will from me. One of the things that I like to talk about is a good coach will guide you. A great coach will guide you for the rest of your life. Whether it's words, whether it's looking back and seeing a lesson, realizing it later. I've had players that I've coached that I've learned from and I didn't even realize it until years later. Each person is different and each person is a lesson, a walking lesson. So for me to stand on the bench and yell and scream and sometimes swear, that's what's on the outside. On the inside, I try to be an open book with blank pages for our youth to fill. So if I can take anything out of this, it would be just to make sure that I give back. It truly is a medicine game. It's helped me with my life. It's helped me realize things. It's helped me see that it doesn't matter what shape, size, color you are. The game doesn't know racism. The game doesn't know physical abilities or lack thereof. The game is there for everybody. Now then, what I would like to share is probably some final thoughts. I know this didn't go as long as I'd liked it to. Being put on the spot is tough. My final thought is this. As parents, we want what's best for our children. As children, we want to be guided by our parents. And sometimes that isn't possible. Involved in minor sports, I've had to take a lot of children under my wing for whatever reason. I don't fault the parents because they're where they're at that time. I've had a lot of parents that I looked up to. I've had a lot of coaches that I've looked up to. But in the old saying that it takes a village to raise a child, it's very true, especially in our community. Lacrosse has shown me that as big as this world is, it's really small. I have been fortunate to make contacts around the world with this game. I have been fortunate enough to be able to help young athletes take a step farther and get into colleges and universities, some of which have went on to play professionally and still are. But I think the greatest lesson that I want to try to get across in this game is we play for the Creator. Acknowledge your gifts, recognize your gifts, and be humble. Always be humble, because it can be gone in an instant.